If you hold XRP, HBAR, XLM, Solana, then this video is for you, or any other kind of crypto in general. We're going to discuss spot ETFs, ETFs. Then we're going to talk about BlackRock, Larry Fink, Franklin Templeton, and a company called SIBO. You may not be aware of this company, but you want to keep your eyes on them. I promise you, because BlackRock owns 10% of this company. I know they own a lot of other companies like that, but they are very well invested in them and they use them for their ETFs. That's why I'm watching them. But they are putting out messages that they are ready to bring in retail for mass adoption. We know as of right now, this point, major investment firms and institutions and countries are all set and ready to go when it comes to crypto and cryptocurrency. They are well primed. The market is ready to go. But one piece missing is liquidity, and we need that from retail investors like you and I. So stick around for this video as I walk through where we are in this timeline. I posted a video yesterday that actually breaks it down a little bit better. So if you want to watch that video and learn where we are in the market, check it out. I will leave a link below. But let's look at the market and see where we are right now. And let's see where we're going to be going here in a little bit. So stick around for the video. A lot of good information in it. If you are an investor, I promise you this is information you want to know. So don't go anywhere. Before we go ahead and hit that like button, that subscribe button, leave a comment down below and let me know, what is your favorite project outside of XRP and HBAR? What's one of those little unknown ones that you've been watching? Let's have a discussion down in the comments. All right, so let's go ahead and check out the market real quick on CoinMarketCap. So we do have a fear and greed of 50% with altcoin season sticking around 67%. We are seeing that Bitcoin's hitting the 115,000 again. And we also are seeing that Ethereum is creeping up on 4,600. We're trying to hit that threshold of 5,000. Once we break over that, that becomes a signal, hey, altcoin season is here. And I think we're going to be seeing that towards the back end of going into October. And the reasoning being is that on September 17th, we have Jerome Powell, Fed chair. He is expected to come out on the FOMC meeting to drop interest rates. If that is true, you're going to see a lot of money being pumped in the market, but it will not be instantaneously, because when he drops the rates, that is just the rates for the banks. The banks then have to drop the rates for the borrower. And that's where that time lag comes in, is because that timeline between Jerome dropping the rates to the bank and the bank giving it to the consumer giving it to the companies that they're spending the money on, takes a while for that money to circulate in the market. So yes, that's great news, but you will see a time lag. So if you're thinking that the market's going to switch overnight just because you drop the rates, that's not the case. But I do want to say that you probably heard these news right here coming out, that this is Cointelegraph. They said just in, Fidelity, Solana ETF, Canary's XRP, and Hedera's ETFs are now listed on the DTCC's platform. And the DTCC is a clearinghouse that moves quadrillions of dollars a year. So this is huge news. It's not really unexpected news, but it's like a, hey, it's finally here kind of news. It is another signal or flag that they are bringing in retail adoption. Now let's take a look at what's going on with BlackRock, because this is actually one of the major stories floating around right now. And let's look at that. You have from Bloomberg, BlackRock seeks to tokenize ETFs after Bitcoin fund breakthrough. So you're hearing BlackRock speaking up more and more when it comes to ETFs. If you've been around for a while, you've probably been waiting for the XRP ETF to come out from BlackRock, because you know that BlackRock put the ETF out on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and you see the price points we're at now with those two packages there. So we're expecting it from BlackRock to get XRP. You'll probably see HBAR, XLM, and all those things start coming through. But BlackRock, if you know how they operate, they kind of move a little at a time. And on this channel, I'll discuss how corporations take 6 months to a year to position themselves. So you should be watching them and positioning yourself with them, because this news I'm about to break next, this actually comes from the SEC and is actually a letter from Larry Fink that was posted on March 31st, 2025. And essentially what this letter is a 2025 annual chairman's letter to investors. And you do see right up here, this is actual filing to the SEC. So if you want to know how big BlackRock is, this is how big they are. They have to report the chairman's letters to investors. They move trillions of dollars. They have trillions of dollars under asset management. So what is in this letter? So let's check it out right here. It says every stock, every bond, Every fund, every asset can be tokenized. If they are, it will revolutionize investing. So let's take away from the little clip here. So a little bit more, it says the SWIFT is the system that underpins trillions of dollars in global transactions every day. It works much like a relay race. Banks hand off instructions one by one, meticulously checking details at each step. The relay approach is made since in 1970s, an analog era when the markets were much smaller and daily transactions were much fewer. But today, relying on SWIFT feels like routing emails through the post office. It says tokenization changes all of that. If SWIFT is the postal service, tokenization is email itself. Assets move directly and instantaneously, sidestepping intermediaries. So think about that when you think about Ripple taking over SWIFT. It's my belief that that will happen one day. I don't think it's going to be within a year. I think you will see Ripple grow larger and SWIFT grow smaller and eventually fade out, just how every business typically does over time. So we see that coming from Larry Fink. He is big on tokenization. He's big on crypto now because they see the value in it. But what else was quoted in this letter is also, we believe the world was changing. The capital markets wouldn't just supplement banks, corporations, and governments. They'd stand alongside them as co-equal source of capital. So again, here we are. They want to be BlackRock. Think about it. BlackRock and banks and investors want to stand next to central banks and governments. They want to help them out, not be under their ruling. And that's what cryptocurrency is slowly becoming, is a decentralized network for currency for the economy that is going to work side by side the governments and central banks, not under them. That's the goal, right? Everybody has the free access to this liquidity. So we're going to move on. Next is going to be hearing from Sandy Cowles. She is the Executive Vice President of Innovation for Franklin Templeton. So check out what she says. It's about a 40-second clip. And this is where I'm going to dive into the back half is they being the major investors, they need your liquidity as a retail investor. So they've already committed to, hey, mass adoption for investment firms are here, but now let's pad those wallets, those pockets with retail's money. And they are now coming after retail and bringing them in. And they're seeing how people like you and I are actually very much invested in this technology. And we are educating ourselves to become smarter investors. So they are creating products around that to help bring in more retail influence. So listen to what she says. 40 seconds. Don't click off. Valuable information. You don't want to miss it.
So I'm going to get bold here, and I am going to say that the transition onto these new financial rails is going to happen at such a lightning speed that people's heads are going to spin. As Jenny and I like to say, we think the next 5 years are going to see more transformation in the way that the global financial markets operate than the last 50. And I think that by 2030, today's world will look unrecognizable, and that we will be so deeply embedded in a wallet-based system that firms that are not already preparing to make that pivot are going to have a very, very hard time staying competitive.
Okay, so what Sandy was saying there is that when she referenced Jenny, she's talking about Jenny Johnson, CEO of Franklin Templeton, which, you know, Franklin Templeton has ETFs out for XRP, right? That's why this is important to follow them. So she's saying that they believe that this adoption is going to be coming at lightning speed. And by 2030 is when they think the mass adoption is going to be here. You probably heard me on this channel again talk about 2030 being the major pivotal moment. Then by 2035, it's just going to be business as normal. And hopefully in those next 10 years from 2025 to 2035, you have positioned yourself very well in the market and you weren't shaken out. You stayed educated, you stayed level-headed, and you actually created a exit plan for yourself that is not going to go buy McLarens and Lamborghinis and major houses. That's great. One of the reasons why you even have this opportunity is because these financial investors and the people that hold the power know that majority of the people that get in and make millions, they are just going to go squander that money back into the market. They're going to get it back. They'll let you borrow it for a little bit, then they're going to take it right back because you didn't do it right. And they know that, and they're planning on that. So for me, don't let them win. Educate yourself, right? And again, my video yesterday, we talked about the .com boom and bust, and we went a little bit deeper into that. So check it out. I'll leave a link at the end of it, little thumbnail and all that good stuff. Okay, so mass adoption coming from Franklin Templeton that I have right over here. SIBO, I want to kind of explain what SIBO is and what they're doing. But first, I need to make the connection that SIBO and BlackRock are kind of one and one, working together. BlackRock is very heavily invested into SIBO, which is 10% holdings. You'll see right over here from the SEC, this is the filing with them from, I think it was December 2024, if I'm not mistaken. But it says right here, it's going to be the SIBO Global Markets, Inc. Then you'll keep scrolling down. We will see that is coming from BlackRock right here. Reporting person is BlackRock, Inc. And their sole shares right here. They're going to have the sole share owner. Sorry, trying to highlight and talk at the same time. It's not working out for me. But they actually own 10 million shares of SIBO from BlackRock. BlackRock owns 10 million shares of SIBO. So why is that important? What am I talking about? Let's follow along and keep on going. So this here is from Kathy Clay. She is the global head of derivatives at this company called SIBO, which focuses on derivatives. And just hear what she says about the expectations of retail coming in and what they're looking to do. So again, I'll play about 20 seconds. I won't play too long of it. So stick around and hear her out and see this bigger picture. They're wanting your money and they're going to try to shake you out of it. So listen to her.
I'm just fascinated by how engaged this retail trading community is. I mean, we hear about the rise of sophistication in the retail trader, but truly the appetite, the hunger, the learning, the paper trading that's happening here, you can tell that they are wanting to actually grow their level of sophistication.
No, they're not messing around.
They are not messing around.
They mean serious business.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. And they were treated last night to a whole host of new features coming to the Robinhood platform.
Okay, so you're hearing from Kathy Clay there. They are expecting, a lot of people want the paper. That was very well said, because a lot of the people that invest in crypto right now, they may not be very well educated on it, how it works. They've kind of just buying stuff from Coinbase. They don't actually hold the physical asset off chain. They don't hold it in cold wallets. So a lot of people are kind of scared to get in on the market, and they know this. So they're going to give you ETFs, wrapped ETFs, spot ETFs, things that you don't physically own that asset. You're just going to own derivatives of those assets. And SIBO is going to be a major player of one of those companies to provide that, because the mass retail does not want the responsibility of owning the actual asset, which is funny because that's where the value is. But most people don't drive past the ETF or don't drive past the spot ETF, the paper wrappings of it. They don't want to buy the actual asset. And they know this as major investment firms. So they need to start pushing out ETFs, spot ETFs, and drive some liquidity in the market before things can really take off. Because when you have liquidity pumping in, you create that FOMO, you create that scarcity. That's when things can get really crazy. But in this interview here, I didn't want to play the whole thing. I will leave that link so you can watch it yourself. But I pulled off from there is that she said that SIBO plans to launch continuous futures for Bitcoin and Ether beginning, this is the important part, beginning November 10th of 2025. So they are looking to do new futures design, efficiently deliver continuous long-term markets exposure to Bitcoin and Ether, aims to provide access perpetual style futures in U.S. regulated intermediate environment, marks next phase of SIBO's expanding product innovation map. So what I want to point out from that is November 10th is when they're expecting that. At the beginning of the video, I was telling you that I think the back end of the year is what's going to happen. And keep in mind, you do have Ripple Swell happening November 3rd through the 4th, if I'm not mistaken. And then you also have all these ETFs are due for the SEC to approve or deny at the end of October. So you are seeing the stage being set very well and very meticulously for mass adoption on the back end of the year, going into January, February, March, as we typically see the altcoin season being the hype moments from October to February, March is typically when we see that roller coaster ride that we can get in on. But that's why you want to be aware of what's coming. You want to position yourself very well for this. And again, I was going to talk about how the timeline is where we're at for mass adoption from investment to retail. So this is something I posted on my X account. You can follow me if you want. No big deal if you don't want to. No pressure there. But I do post stuff that I don't post here on this channel here. But yesterday, September 11th, I posted, it said, put together a timeline for the internet conception to adoption, and did the same for crypto. And if you are any of these, holders of any of these projects here, check it out. Gives you visuals where we are today in relation to mass adoption. But what I want to point out is the internet one. So right now, we do know that the internet was commercialized in 1995 with 40 million users. Then 5 years later, going into 2000, mass adoption hits, and you go from 40 million users to 361 million users. You go from commercialized companies to in-house at that point, becoming very normalized. And then the dot-com boom and bust, happened right there behind that. Again, 1995 to 99, the build-up phase for all this technology to hit. March 10th, again, I just said March is typically when we start seeing that fizzle out when we talk about altcoin season. Currently from like 2021, et cetera. March 10th, 2000 is when that hit that peak and then crashed down from 2000 to 2002. And this is why it's important to position yourself well and be ready for the next move. And you are aware when your peak is, so you can get out of there and take that money off the market, pay off your bills, get out of debt. Most importantly, get out of debt. Then also park some stable coins on the side that will earn you some interest of 4%, typically, depends on which platform you go to. You can earn some interest off those stable coins as you're waiting for that market to come back down again, because what goes up must go down. And then at that point, you're going to be able to rebuy what you saw sold up there. And that's how you trade like a well. You sell at the high, you buy at the low, and you wait for the next peak, you sell again. That's how this works. That's how the game is played. Educate yourself and get ready for that. All right, that's all I have in this video for you. But if you did like it, please consider liking and commenting and subscribing. It does help and it'd be very much appreciated. But before I let you go, just remember, take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and be the change that you want to be. And watch this video over here, whichever where I put it at, if you want to learn a little bit more about this timeline here. Until then, I'll see you on the next one.